So, I didn't tell you the truth. This is a short chapter. The last one for today. The next week, it starts with a massive chapter. I can't wait for that. But chapter 22 is our last chapter of this week. So, he's just agreed with President Thorntree that he's going to keep a secret. Let's see how he's going to rejoin his friends. President Thorntree opened the door to her office. It looked heavy, but glided back on well-oiled hinges. She led Lucky out, and he followed her into a very grand hall. High above, from a domed ceiling, hung the flags of every human world in the galaxy. The walls were made of gleaming marble. The floor smelled of polish. It was so huge, Lucky could almost have believed he was on a real world, and not a space station, were it for the artificial tasting air. There was a shadow guard waiting for him in the hall. For a moment, Lucky felt a horrible flash of doubt. He tensed up, clutching his astrolabe in his hands. He feared the president was about to turn on him, betray him, order the shadow guard to get him. But it didn't happen. She smiled again. "I so wish I could come with you, my boy," she said softly. "But you go with the shadow guard now. He'll take care of everything." She shook Lucky's hand, and then they parted. The president went back into her office, and the shadow guard led Lucky away. His head was still spinning with her words. His mouth was still full of the taste of brownies. The shadow guard led him to an elevator with no buttons on it, no markings at all. The doors closed, and they plunged down, down, down. The doors opened to a very different view. A dim grey vault, lined with cell doors, watched over by sentries. The shadow guard led Lucky out of the vault. The sentries saluted at once. "Where is the crew of the alien ship Sunfire?" the shadow guard asked him. "In there, sir," said a sentry, pointing at one of the cells. The shadow guard nodded, and the sentry opened the door right away. It was dark and cold inside the cell. Squinting into the gloom, Lucky could see Frolix and Bixer huddled in one corner, Mystica, the captain, and Professor in another. They looked up and saw Lucky standing in the doorway. "Hey, is that him?" said Bixer, blinking in the sudden light. "Is that you, Lucky?" croaked Mystica, peering out of the cell. "It's me," he said. Frolix and Bixer jumped up. Professor Byzantine and Captain Knox helped Mystica to rise. She stood with difficulty. She looked exhausted and pale, but she was beaming at Lucky, her golden eyes filling with an emotion so strong and pure it gave him goosebumps. "We thought you will last forever," said the old lady. "But you made it. You made it. You made it. Come here, you lovely boy." She pulled him to her, embracing him, holding him close and warm. The others crowded around too, and in their happy faces there was such comfort, such relief. Bixer was calling him every name under the sun, but he didn't mind it one bit. "We thought we'd never see you again, buddy," said Frolix, giving him a huge bear hug. "We were so worried about you." "I was worried about you," protested Lucky. "I thought I'd gotten you into such trouble." Captain Knox's face darkened as he noticed the shadow guard standing behind Lucky in the doorway. He pulled himself up to his full height. "What are you doing with the boy?" he demanded, his huge horns bristling. "This time I will not stand by, and—" "It's not what you think," said Lucky, holding the captain back. "It's okay." The shadow guard raised a hand and waved them out of their cell to freedom. "Their case has been processed," he told the sentry. "They are cleared to go." "Sir," said the sentry, "but they are cleared to cross the space wall." His voice was so firm that the sentry just stood aside, saluting. "Your possessions have been returned to your ship," the shadow guard told the Sunfire crew. "Now, follow me." They hesitated on the threshold of their cell. "It's okay," Lucky reassured them. "I swear, everything's okay. Let's go." "How in heaven's name?" Knox asked as he led his crew out into the light. Lucky couldn't answer. Not yet. He couldn't spoil this moment with a lie. The Shadow Guard led them in silence back through the space gate, past the inspection chamber and border controls, down long steel tunnels. Everywhere they went, doors opened for them. Shadow Guards stood back, saluted. No one challenged them. It was surreal, but it was satisfying. Lucky felt so glad he'd made the deal with the president at that moment. It was worth it, just for this. They walked out of the tunnel and into the docking bay. Cold air hit his face. He shivered. It was freezing out here, in this echoing space of its harsh white strip lights. But before them now stood the Sunfire, a beautiful crescent of beaten silver, shining with silent promise under the lights. And in its shadow stood a little phoenix of crimson gold. "Bazooka!" she chirped, her feathers glowing with warmth. "Bazooka!" cried Professor Byzantine, rushing forward. She soared up onto his shoulder and perched there proudly, preening as if she'd fought off the Shadow Guards all on her own. "Bazooki!" she chirruped happily. Professor Byzantine looked even happier. He turned to the Shadow Guard and then to Lucky, his eyes full of tears. "However this came to pass," he said, "I am most grateful." Lucky smiled, but he didn't say a word. The Shadow Guard just turned and left the docking bay, his footsteps echoing on the cold metal floor. "Let's get out of here," said Frolic, shivering. "This place gives me the creeps." He ran towards the Sunfire and Lucky followed him. This ship had crossed half the galaxy to get him here, and returning to it now felt like coming home after everything that had happened. He could still hardly believe he'd made it through the space gate. Not just made it, he'd emerged with the help and protection of the President herself. It barely felt real. But this much was real. He had no doubt. The Sunfire, the Axa, his friends. Beneath the ship he found a pile of his possessions. His space traveller's coat, his cloven hoof boots, his purple contact lenses. One by one he put them on again. Beside him, Frolics popped open the hatch and then shimmied up to perch on the edge of a crescent wing, grinning from ear to ear. "Ah, home!" he whooped, relief audible in his voice. "Look, Lucky, did you ever see anything so beautiful?" "I never did," said Lucky. "Come sit with me while the others get on," said Frolics. I don't want to break anything." "You won't," said Frolics. "Come on, it's the best seat in the house." Lucky scrambled up the side of the ship, trusting that his hooves would not let him down, then shut his eyes and leaped across to the wing. Sure enough, they brought him safely over. He walked right up to the edge of the wing and sat there beside Frolics, the two of them swinging their legs carefree as the others boarded the Sunfire. He looked back at the docking bay and saw the Shadow Guard still watching him. He felt a flicker of doubt. "This feels too easy," he thought. "And yet, what can go wrong? The President herself authorised it." "No, we're going to get away. It's really happening." "You two!" called Bixer. "Stop daydreaming. We got places to go. Get your asses in gear before I come over there and kick 'em." Lucky grinned, climbed off the wing and swung into the ship through the hatch. In the old days he would have tripped straight over it, but his hooves knew what they were doing and brought him in with a stylish flip. Inside the Sunfire, everything was exactly as they'd left it. It was like coming back to a sanctuary. The scent of Zoko was still rich in the air. Lucky filled his lungs with it. It was so good to smell it again and see the stove where Mystica made it. It was good to see the cathedral columns and vaulting arches of the cabin, the vid screens glowing like stained glass with their images of the 12 Astraeus. He thought it would even be good to see the ship's toilet again. Captain Knox and Frolics were already up in the cockpit. Mystica and the Professor had gone to Mystica's quarters. Bixer closed the hatch and they strapped themselves into their silver seats. "Here we go," thought Lucky. "Goodbye to everything I know and hello to the war zone." Well, that leaves us for today, and we're going to be getting straight into them in the war zone next week. So, is he truly safe? Have they really got the President's backing? Have you guys deduced? I think I know why the President's letting him go. Well, we know she wants to find his father. But is it for a good reason, or has she got a more sinister purpose? What do you think? We'll get back to this next week. Some super chapters today, and then we'll be starting with chapter 23. Right. Enjoy, and I can't wait to pick it up next week. Bye-bye.